Okay, so here's our Arduino node update. Here's what we got so far. So we're going to see how well this goes one-handed. This is the so this is what I made to kind of get everything into one spot. See if I can get it to focus. There we go. This thing has a few good little features. So first of all, everything is removable. So if we fry something, we can just replace it, which will probably happen. So here's just the bare board, and it's got some good features. So we can power it with just a battery. Got this little battery jack, this little power jack. And it's got some filtering capacitors to filter the input, and then also I added this little 3.3 volt regulator. The Arduino gives 3.3 volts, but it doesn't give very much current. So for our high power transmitters that we got, we're going to need more current. So this little thing here will put out an amp at 3.3 volts. So the way I have it set up is for testing, or if we want to use the smaller modules, we can just move this jumper. There's this little jumper here and these two pins. If it's disconnected, it will get its power from this by default. And then if we want to, for testing or whatever, just want to power it through the computer or through USB, then if we wouldn't be able to use the high power module, we just use the little ones, which I have. I can't remember if you have any of those, but anyway, I can connect this jumper and then it will just power. It will power the RF module through USB or whatever it is. See if I can get this. Sorry. Okay. So that should be out of the way. Okay, so this is the base chip, and then let's see if I can do this one-handed somehow. There's a few things. This right here is our voltage detector. So it's labeled. Plug our voltage, our voltage detector right there. We can modify if we need to, but I think we're not going to end up needing those big giant volt chips that we got. I found a way that I think is going to give good sensitivity with a lot less overhead. So as far as I know, it should be all good. We can modify later if we need to, or if we need to use those big chips that we got, then we can. But I think based on just tinkering around with this, I think we may not need those big honking ones. So that'll cut down a lot on power consumption for batteries if we don't need those, and also with just cost. So, okay, next thing, we got our light sensor. Plugs in right here. This is my first one-handed hookup. Okay, now we got our humidity sensor. Make sure I get it the right way around. So this is a 6-pin connector. 3 of them are for, I wired up 3 of them for the humidity and air temperature. And then the top 3 are for the temperature, soil temperature. So switched it out with one of those nicer temp sensors. Plug these in together. Let's pop our Arduino. So the Nanos I think are perfect for this. Nano is my favorite. So small. So got our Nano there, and then also our soil moisture temperature, our soil moisture just plugs into these headers right there. So that plugs nicely in there. And then our big old transmitter. So that's what I'm working on right now, is getting a good way to send all the data. I've got the transmitters working, talking back and forth to each other between Arduinos. So that's progress. I ordered on eBay some little extenders, a little wire that can screw onto here, just a cable, so we can move this. It doesn't have to be stuck right to this whole thing. So my idea is to get this and put it all, well, I mean, you said you found some acrylic boxes, so that's good. Just for testing, I'm just going to use this Tupperware. I'm going to cut a hole in the top and put a piece of glass and then just silicone around it, waterproof it, so that I can stick the light sensor up, facing upward. Anyway, my idea was just this thing can probably be outside, or we can just fold it over and leave it in the box. It probably doesn't matter either way. But if we wanted to, I ordered a couple little cables to extend that. We can screw it in to the side. So eventually, I guess the idea, maybe these sensors don't connect directly to this board, but maybe we just stub out these connectors from this board to the side of here with wires, and then everything would just plug into the side. If we can find some good waterproof solution for that. So the other thing I added was, so we have support here for this battery, and it's kind of nice the way it's set up right now. So let's see if we can take a look at it. So we got our USB. Plug that into our USB hub. Okay, looks like we're going to need to support this big module in groups. Okay, so if we turn on USB, we can also turn on our power. And these are just two 18650s. We're going to need at least, very minimum, 6 volts. These are two 3.7, and fully charged, they're running around like 8 volts. So we're going to need to keep it for sure above 6, but ideally above 7. Just for all the overhead. So here's what I added. Let's see if we can. What happened? Okay. Okay, so we're spitting out our readings here, and I added a battery voltage sensor as well. It's just sensing, looks like we got 8 volts coming off our battery. So that is done with this little underneath here. I put a couple of resistors and we have a voltage divider. So we can measure, we need to keep we can input up to, technically up to 13 volts. We probably want to keep it, I just did 13 because some 12 volt stuff runs high, but we'd want to keep any input to power this thing around 12 volts or less. So anyway, I figured we can just output all of these stats. Let's see if we can focus. So we'll send all these stats over. See if we can get a good reading on some light here. There we go. So the broadband and infrared, those are just raw numbers. I don't really know what to do with those numbers. I don't really know what they mean. But the lux, at least that's a unit we kind of know about. Okay, and then the voltage here. So the first voltage is going to be plant voltage. It's measured in millivolts. And then our battery voltage is in volts. And so it looks like we have about a 2-degree discrepancy in our temperature sensors. Let's see. Well, anyway, that's kind of where we're at. You should have all these parts. If you want to put one of these together, we could start reading right away. But next step is to still figuring out a few things on the Raspberry Pi with this sensor. So next step is I'm going to get this, instead of just talking to each other through this, I'm going to get it to send all this information that we want, and then send it over the Pi, get the camera script going. Anyway, so it's pretty fun. It's good stuff. So I built 2 or 3 of these before let's see where to go. Here was I don't even know where the other one went. Let's see. Here was the first one. Kind of welded stuff right onto it. Used a headphone jack for power. Found out that's not a good idea. Anyway, this one functions, but I like this other one a lot better. So anyway, it's a little cleaner, better organized.